All right, Zig coming in at the top. Today we have the return of Mike Baggetta for the third time on the show. Always an inspiration to have guitarist, singer, songwriter Mike Baggetta on the show. Mike is in the band MSSV as well as many other projects, but MSSV is coming out with their brand new album. It's called On and On, featuring Stephen Hodges and Mike Watt. MSSV is a post-genre power trio. The new album On and On is a concept record where all the works combined to create an endlessly episodic journey through the temporal and seemingly fleeting nature of society, personality, and music, and life and death, only to realize that all of this is endlessly repeating. It's a heavy concept that only a group like MSSV could rightly illustrate with their music. We're going to listen to a tune off the new MSSV record, On and On. This is Be Careful What You Wish For. Be Careful What You Wish For, off MSSV's new record, On and On, available on all the streaming platforms. Now, what's cool about what they did with this release is, on all the streaming platforms, you get just the songs, but on the vinyl release, you get all the interludes. So there's all these interludes that connect all the tracks together that was composed off a couple improvised sessions. Mike tells us about the process in our conversation. It's about to come up here, but you can only hear those tracks if you get the vinyl. So if you go to mssv.com and check them on the socials, you can see where they get the vinyl. Also, if you come to a show. So, my good people of Cleveland, at the Beachland Tavern, MSSV will return Sunday, April 13th. Tickets are available at the Beachland's website. Coda and I will definitely be there. Before we get to this interview, some things that are going on with me. My band, C Level, letter C dash Level. We're a high-energy funk punk reggae rock group that plays acoustic 12-string guitars ran through Marshall amps. We are opening for Pete Francis of the band Dispatch June 13th at the Winchester. And this is a super special show, not only because we're opening for a hero of ours, but we are actually going to be backing Pete as well. So we're going to be Pete's backing band. Yeah, that's pretty sick. Also, it's a celebration of our first single release. It's going to be called Long-Legged Fly. It features Pete Francis on vocals and guitar. It's going to be on all streaming platforms everywhere June 13th. The show's June 13th. Come hang out with us then. MSSV is coming to you. Don't miss them. It's an incredible show, incredible musicality and artistry, and we're going to dive into this with Mike. So here is, for the third time on the show, my conversation with Mike Baggetta. Well, cool. Well, to jump into this and get into this new record, the first thing I want, before diving into this, I wanted to ask about before I mean, I know this record was written when you guys were on tour with the last record, correct?
Yeah. So when we did the last tour, it was for the Human Reaction album that just came out, and so before that tour, I wrote this new set of music. And we practiced that, and then we worked it into the sets every night on tour, so we could record this music right at the end of that album. Yeah.
Okay. And so did you have the whole concept kind of for this record going into that tour, or did it develop on the tour?
I had 7 songs, all the songs that are on the album except for the one called On Its Face. Those 7 songs were, pretty much completed, and those are the ones we practiced, and those are the ones we put into the sets on the road. And then when we got to the studio, I was kind of having an idea along the tour, like, how can I tie all these songs together? There's some kind of thread running through these songs, but I don't know what it is, really. I just know that there's something that's connecting them. And one idea I had was to ask both Watt and Hodges to improvise separately, solo, during some downtime in the studio. And what I asked them to do was to kind of improvise using some of the themes from the songs that we'd been doing. So, there's a drum part for Careful What You Wish For that's kind of identifiable, and there's, bass parts that are pretty specific. So the idea was take these little hints of these parts and change them around into your own, change the tempo, change the notes, just improvise on those themes of your parts, but separate. And so when I got back, home after the recording, everything was pretty much done. I started listening to these, I've got like 35 minutes of like solo bass improv, it's like the Mike Watt doing the Colne concert or something. It's great. It's amazing. It's actually totally amazing. And Hodges, the same thing, like 25 minutes of solo Hodges drums improvising. I mean, I just sat there and listened to him like records for a few days. But then I started to hear things pop out, and I was thinking like, oh, this drum thing will go good with this bass section. And I started putting them together and kind of editing them together on my computer in Logic into these arrangements of these little new pieces. And then I would write guitar parts, and I'd overdub those guitar parts. And those became this set of interludes that connects all the music on the vinyl version of the album. So each side of the vinyl version is just one long track where all these songs are connected by these little improvised and then rearranged interludes that you don't hear on the streaming stuff where you just get the singles. And then On Its Face, that was kind of the same idea. We improvised a little bit together in the studio, and I took the bass and drums part for that song from that improvised portion together and wrote the words to go over that. And we got a new song that way too. So that's kind of a long answer to your question, I think.
No, but that makes sense. Like, I feel like with you guys embody this like just kind of pure creativeness and the act of it and the living of that. So that totally makes sense. That's how you guys would come across how this concept would come together and how like those pieces would come together. And like I think what a really cool like just to have this raw audio from the guys and just to be able to like kind of piece it together. Did they like when you showed them were like, oh, that's my bit? I don't know. Did they recall? Because I'm sure it probably just came out and like it was in the ether. But when they put it together, was it kind of like an aha moment for them as well?
I actually haven't heard anything about it from them, so I guess it's okay. I think they have a lot of trust in me to do what I feel is right for the music. So I don't think anybody's too worried about that.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's definitely clear because you're definitely leading the ship on this, and like to like just pitch songs with these cats, like the trust is there for sure. Okay, so like, but when so the initial 7 songs that you wrote, the kind of narrative that seems to snake its way through it, was that is upfront too?
It wasn't really upfront to me.
Okay.
At first, but maybe I'm so close to it, I'm the last person to see it. But the title of the album is On and On. There's a song on the record called On and On, and like ostensibly, I wrote that about one of my wife and I, one of our cats that was kind of getting ready to pass on, and we had him for a long time, and he was our little buddy, so it was sad, and so I kind of just wrote this little song for him in that moment. And then of course later you sort of realize like, oh, it's not just about this cat, it's about the idea of all these different things that happen in life, the passage of time, the death rebirth cycle, the interconnectivity of all things that I sort of believe in my own way, and that kind of ends up being a theme for a lot of music that's important to me, and a lot of music that I write. I've found, this sort of thread that runs through things is the fact that I think everything is, in a very brief explanation, I think everything is kind of the same thing. Everything is interconnected to the point where, it's all really intimately involved. And whether you have emotions in a relationship or emotions in music or anything like that, it's all kind of comes from the same place, the same kind of area of human experience or society or community and stuff like that. So that kind of ended up being a bit of a springboard to think about how this set of songs is related in a way.
Because on that makes the literal sense of the line about the table in the chorus of On and On, but in the grander scheme, the like metaphoric, that makes it way more. I can see the expanse of that. I guess my next question is with that kind of interconnectivity. Did you like, and like, okay, this, I don't want to like make it just kind of funnel into one thing at first, but like, I guess when I was like, kind of really getting a grasp on stuff, a large portion of my understanding of certain things was I felt really lucky to have this outlet of like of music in a sense, you know, and that can be for anyone, any like endeavor that they do. But like this outlet, and it kind of really made me understand just the concept of balance in life, and like, you know, just these gigs are good, these gigs are bad. This is, you know what I mean, like little things like that kind of cemented it in a grander scheme for me. Did I guess your dive into expressing yourself through music kind of I guess open that create that connectivity to you, or was this something that you kind of just always had pondering?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever thought about it that way. I mean, I'm happy to have music in my life for sure, but I kind of feel if I didn't have music, I would do something else. I mean, you know, I get to do music all the time. I'm really lucky about it. And that's my like real love and passion. But if I never, I guess what I mean is if I never found it, I might have just, you know, done writing instead, or, you know, I would have made, you know, maybe sculpting or whatever, or just, I also think you can be really creative in the way you live your life every day. You know, managing
Definitely.
to, yeah, like finding ways to be compassionate or finding ways to sort of alter your viewpoint, to have more empathy for others, I think is pretty creative in a way. Um, so yeah, I'm very thankful for music. Don't get me wrong. It's the huge passion in my life, but I think I would have tried to find another outlet for things, I guess if that's what you mean.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, yes, and like, because like I have these conversations with certain individuals, and I think like one person that sticks out is like my dad. He'll say like, "Oh, I can't, you know, I can't do anything creative," and like, and I look at the things he does, like he
That was a
can.
great impression. I don't know your dad, but I can see him with that voice.
I don't think it was. Um, but like, you know, he'll say, "I don't think I can do any creative," and like he'll do all these things that are super creative, and he'll just like deny their creativity in a way. Like
Sure.
he'll make like I just got this crazy machine that can sew tarps together, and he just whipped together this crazy bag to carry this, or like made like all these doorknobs out of golf balls. You know what I mean? Just like things like that. But
Yeah.
and like, and that's or just like these kind of creative problem solving to solve like something like fixing I don't know, a brake line in a way, or like just fill in the blank, like something like that it like I know I couldn't figure out like without like I think
Sure.
I need to follow the manual, you know. But in that sense, which is very creative, but he doesn't look at it like that, and I guess like kind of diving into a thing that like is like music or like a creative outlet like that, like it makes to me it made everything else shine in that same sense. So like I guess that's what the initial point of my question was like, because of having music as an outlet, did it kind of bring that interconnectivity? Because I believe with when you're recording and you're like putting stuff together and you're thinking in like kind of conceptually and like writing and putting it all together, or looking through the weeds to like find the bass part and the drum part that fit together, this connectivity kind of makes itself more clear in a way because you're actively like working to piece it together.
Yeah, I think that was a really good, like, specific detail of your question, and so I think I can say that it wasn't really like that for me at all.
Okay.
I think um, I think I have these ideas about some of these songs that are very surface level and kind of just doing the work, so to speak. You know, both song is just I wrote that because Watt got his both got the van stolen, you know, so that's what that song
Yes.
is
Yeah.
ostensibly about. Careful what you wish for is one of his friends, Jared, took a face plant at work and smashed his nose. You know, I
Oh
mean,
my God.
there's sort of these like very surface level things the songs are about, and when I sit down and I kind of do the work, that's what I'm writing the song about, and that's kind of just like, you know, fixing a brake line or whatever in a way, except
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
guitar and words. And so I think doing the work is part of it. And then later you can go back and you can, for me anyways, you can go back with the magnifying glass and say like, oh, this is actually kind of also about this, or kind of also about that, or this one I wrote for somebody, but now actually it makes sense for all people, or actually you could apply it to an idea in society instead of just a person. So for me, that process kind of happens after the fact. I don't want to, I think if you have too grand of an idea going in, for me, it gets too like intimidating.
Yeah.
You know, if I just write a song about a van, that seems pretty easy. But if I try to write a treatise on like humanity, it's like, whoa, I can't even begin. I don't know where to start, you know?
No,
but luckily everything is kind of interconnected, so you end up getting one anyways.
No, I totally get and relate to that for sure. And like, just on the songwriting's perspective, I think like little moments like that highlight those grander moments anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm just really fascinated by your idea of interconnectiveness. Like that's a, I guess I think that's what I was trying to string along those questions to like kind of bring out. But on the Careful What You Wish For tune.
Jared Trebedich, the drummer from Second Man. He's I'm gonna get some of the facts wrong, but he's a dock worker, and I think he was called into work this one day, and he was put in like a solo shift, which maybe isn't what he usually does. And long story short, he kind of something happened, and he passed out, and he just hit the deck. His face hit the floor, and he had to get like stitches, and his nose was moved over, his mouth was all backed up and stuff. So the general idea of that song was, I was kind of thinking about it a lot. Actually, it happened on the tour before that. So we were getting updates and seeing pictures of him and stuff. It was pretty brutal. But so the idea was kind of like in my head. It's not even really specifically about that, because the idea in my head is like, what happens when somebody wants to end up in a position where they're by themselves? Let's say you're, you want to climb to the top of your, your occupational ladder or whatever, and then you make it and you're up there all alone, but then something happens and where's the help? Maybe it's not everything it's cracked up to be, no pun intended. But that was kind of the idea of that song. So it's not really specifically about Jared, but definitely highly, highly influenced by his unfortunate incident.
Because, I hope he's all right now.
He's great. He's doing great. He looks better than ever.
Awesome. Because I guess then when I listened through that tune initially, I got the vibe of just how you said that, the climbing up of a thing, and like almost like, and to come after boats. I don't know if it comes after boat song. I have to double check that. But like I thought that was kind of about the experience of the band, but like. That like kind of openness to it can make it feel like that. With the boat song, I knew before even listening, I'm like, this one's about a van, because of Watt's kind
of a giveaway.
Yeah, the boat concept of it.
I think of songs, actually, what I really think of songs as, I think of them as a mirror. So I can write a song, and I can kind of know what I'm writing it about. But when the song is finished and you present it to someone else, or someone shows me a song, or lets me listen to a song. See, I even think shows me a song. It's like you're holding up a mirror facing that person. So I can make all kinds of different mirrors. Maybe they have a blue tint or a pink tint, or the picture is wavy, or the picture is really clear, or maybe it's kind of translucent, or it's a square shape or a circle. You can make all kinds of different mirrors, but when you hold it up to someone to look into, they're going to see something that you don't see. And they're going to see a reflection of something that's in them that you don't know about, because you're not that person. That's a really great song to me. It's like you just make a really well-crafted mirror that has a little tint to it, your idea of this thing. And when you present it to somebody, it's out of your hands what they're going to see, because it's a reflection of what they have in their own life anyways.
I think that's well said. And I definitely agree with that. Did,
Cool.
I What's like as far as like a song that does that for you, that kind of like made that clear, where you saw something in it and then someone you knew like saw something completely different in it?
Oh man, I don't know if I have a specific example like that. I really think it's happened to me so many times.
Yeah.
Um, and I assume that what I think a song is like about for me is probably not necessarily what it's about or what it's about for someone else. I'm sure there's like really interesting stories out there about that, but yeah, I can't think of any right now.
Because like I'm trying to like, if I even like, I find myself with like with that expression like more of like a kind of like Coltrane. Like talking with about Coltrane to certain people, I'll hear one thing, or Dylan, I'll hear one thing and then they'll tell me something completely different. Like, but I mean, those are two like kind of like on the nose. Of course, those are going to be vague.
There's all sorts of examples like that. Yeah, actually, I can actually think of one now. Thinking about it, there's a Polish composer from a while ago. His name was Henryk Górecki, and his Symphony Number 3. If you can ever get a chance to check this out, it's like, you need 45 minutes to an hour to check the whole thing out, and it goes really slow at the beginning, but it's one of the most moving things I've ever heard in my life. It's so gorgeous, and I love the patience of the way that it unfolds, and it was really like really moving the first time I heard it. I mean, it still is every time I hear it, but in a piece that's that long, like a symphonic work, you have all kinds of visions in your head about what it makes you think of and memories for yourself and this and that. And it was just so beautiful and moving. And then later I found out that it was written sort of as like from the perspective of like a mother to a dying child, to their dying child. Which is kind of very specific. And yeah, and of course it's super dark, right? But but I wouldn't have guessed that really, because I'm listening to it with my own ears in a totally different time period from when it was written, in a different country with a different, I just wouldn't have thought of that on my own, I guess, but that was kind of what it was about. Also not understanding the language of some of the libretto, so that's a pretty good example, I think.
No, definitely. Like, and like what? Oh man, I can't remember this composer's name. I think he was Swedish, and he would take phrases. This is just kind of an off-topic thing, but he would take vocal phrases that would people just in conversation, and he would use that to compose.
Right.
Do you know who that? God damn, why can't I think of his name?
I don't know.
Whatever.
Sounds like a cool idea.
But it just kind of like building off that, like one person hears just a normal conversation, and this guy's hearing it as music. So he would take that like the cadence of someone's voice, the intervals, and the like rhythm, and he would alter it a bit to make it musical and kind of represent the feeling of what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And like he had a conversation, or he had notated, and I don't know if it was in a work or not, if it was just in his diary, but of his dying child. And like, yeah. So related to that, like that's what made me think of it, and like just like how he wrote it out, and just like how dark and like that moment is, and to have that notated, you know what I mean, to be experiencing his world through that lens. I can't imagine it.
It sounds intense. Well, and then there's a song cycle by Mahler, something about songs for dying children or something. So maybe this is like actual wealth of creative output that people need to investigate,
For sure. Or just like
dying children.
Or just like
I'm beginning to regret bringing this up.
This is where it took a dark turn.
Next question.
But I guess regardless, like to put those emotions anywhere, you know what I mean? Like it's a blessing to have a creative outlet in that sense where it's not as on the nose, but that those thoughts and those feelings can be channeled towards something creative and hopefully moving in a way to bow it.
Yeah, and you know, like I get really involved. Back to kind of your initial question, I get really involved in things that I do. Like if I'm reading a book, I get totally engrossed in it. If I'm, you know, having a good conversation with somebody, I'm totally engrossed with it. You know, if I'm working on my emails and I'm in the zone, I get totally engrossed in it. You know, so whether it's music or something else, I think my personality is to kind of be emotionally invested in the things that I'm doing in that moment. So yeah, I think there's all kinds of ways to be creative for sure. It just happened to be mostly with music in this case.
Yeah. And no, I 100%, I totally agree with that. And like, it's one of those things like, I think people that are doing that all the time, they don't realize how creative and awesome they are because of just the kind of the genre of activity, you know what I mean? Like it's not, this genre of activity isn't normally labeled creative. It's, you know what I mean? But it is.
Right. Yeah, humans are creative. I mean, humans have to be really creative. We're kind of, I mean, essentially, we're kind of like weak beings in the world. You know, there's so many other like animals and stuff that can take us out like so easily. You know, and of course, man takes themselves out pretty easily too. But you know, I think as a human, like evolutionarily, you had to be really creative to survive. You know, and whether that's building a house or whatever, you know, like, so creativity is kind of built into the DNA, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And there's like, when you're problem solving in that sense, there's something that like, there's a euphoria that comes over your brain. Like when you like piece together, when you finish the song, you know what I mean? When you're like, oh, I got the melody, the chords and the changes and the what I want to say, it's here, you know, there's a euphoria, there's a neuro spike of dopamine that I don't think can be replaced.
Yeah. It's nice to feel like well, you know, for me, actually, I don't know if I really get that. For me, I kind of feel like I don't even know if I've ever finished a song, you know, like I don't know that it's done. I can probably change it again but if it gets recorded, it's kind of, that's that version at least.
Yeah.
I get that feeling more from like when I complete a task that I know is finished, like, you know, doing all of the dishes in the sink. And when that's done, I'm like, wow, look at that. The sink is totally empty. And I know that I'm done with this task. Like those kind of things that's actually pretty exciting to me. But when I finish a song, I don't really know if it's done. So I don't really ever get that feeling, you know. I think when I record an album, I get that feeling at the end of it. Because I go like, okay, we did it, and that all these versions are now enclosed within this. But I don't know if I think like an actual song is done ever. But I also have a pretty deep background in improvised music, where things are never really finished. They're just sort of you're always doing it in a way.
It's always going on and on.
Exactly my point.
No, that makes sense. And with your guys' process too, that definitely makes sense. And like, and I, you know, to have that first pressing come back, you know what I mean, and be like, we did it. Like,
it's like finishing the dishes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. I was gonna say that. But they'll come back. So with another tune I wanted to bring up, which really spoke to me just in the moment with all the stuff I'm thinking about and like kind of going through, was that last tune on the record, "Okay the Change." I think like you mentioned earlier how these were just kind of phrases that like have a wide span already, but that was like, and like I think those phrases, they come to our ears when you need to hear them. That's why they're just always around. But that tune, and definitely being at the end of the record, I think was specifically placed. Can you tell me a little bit about the process of "Okay the Change" for this record?
Yeah, I guess in a way first song and the last song on the record are kind of maybe the most song type of songs. And so they made sense to kind of bookend the album that way. Just sort of sonically, I guess that was the only reason I put it there. And but maybe not. Maybe you're onto something. I'm not sure. I have to go and rethink it.
Because like I talked to Watt a couple years ago, and I remember he brought up this concept from Iggy Pop from playing with the Stooges, and he's like, Iggy would say you have to, the set has to have, or the song or the set has to have a sandwich. You have to start with the bread. You can get crazy, but then you have to end with the bread.
Yeah.
In this sense, that makes sense for the record. But I was like, I guess more of like kind of just the OK2 change. Was that still kind of along the same like emotional experience from On and On? Was this like was this a process of just like hanging out with these guys in the boat and just everything's moving all the time and just this is what it is, we're going here, now it's changed, now we're not, like as far
no it has nothing to do with the band.
Okay.
I guess that's a song, I don't know, it's just something different. The only songs about the band are really peripherally are the boat song and Careful What You Wish For, but yeah, I don't know what to say about that one right now. It's a fair question. I guess I haven't thought about it too much.
Because like for me, like just kind of experiencing that in the moment right now with like a bunch of stuff that's like potentially on the verge of changing to different situations, you know what I mean? Like starting this.
Well, yeah, I mean that is kind of obviously that's what the song's about. Like I think it is okay to change from what people's perceptions of you are, or what your own perceptions of yourself might be. Yeah, I think anytime you write a song and you sing it in public, you're kind of putting out your ideas into public. You know what I mean? So you can't really be like shy about the fact that you have to own it. It's kind of a thing that you have to believe in if you're going to do it, which is always kind of interesting when you hear like songs that are kind of, I don't know, that have like different viewpoints than your own, because I kind of have to believe the person singing it believes in what they're saying, and sometimes it makes me go like, oh wow, really, you think that? But yeah, I mean, I believe in that song, and I believe in kind of the general idea of the song for sure. I think a lot of people get stuck in the trench of having to kind of constantly recreate what they think other people think of them. And I think that's, a pretty big problem in some people's lives, or in some sections or communities of society and stuff like that. So I know I'm giving kind of vague answers, but I don't really know what to say to pinpoint it. I mean, it's kind of basic on one level. Yeah, I think it is okay to change. So that's cool that you felt that too.
Yeah, I mean, and like, no, that's a totally respectable answer. And like, it's just because it's one of those, I definitely agree. I think, and like, it can be more pinned to a music situation or a creative outlet when you put yourself out there in that way. People expect that's who you are, you know what I mean? And that's it. And like, but at times, like what I think is important about just like a song that's like that, especially where it is on this record, that, it builds up to this statement at the very end. And then like, it is okay, to change everything you do, or if stuff is rocking a different direction, it's all right to go the opposite direction. It's all right to take a different path and rearrange yourself. And like, I feel like a lot of people get caught up, and maybe I can just say I get caught up and keep maintaining a certain, okay, we got to keep this going. We got to keep this going. Oh, okay. You know what? It's all right that we don't do that every Friday, or, you know what I mean? I don't know. Fill in the blank. Like, it's okay that stuff changes. And like, sometimes you just need a reminder of that. And like, that's why that's why I thought was so powerful about this record, is it builds up to that statement and like really goes on with like, or really pairs with going on.
Well, see, this is what I mean about the songs being like a mirror. Like it's great to hear your experience with the music, because it's so different from my own. on the other side of it, to be able to hold the mirror up and look at your face and not really see what you're seeing in the mirror, but see your face reacting to what you're seeing. That's what I really like about creating the music. And I can see that in people at the shows, or I can get that from talking to people like you right now and go, yeah, okay, that's great. Maybe that song is done, or maybe the record is finished, because that's the end goal, that you can create something that is, it's so lofty to think about it, but like you create something that kind of can help people in some small way or whatever. That's kind of what I think is cool about it. So yeah, it's really good to hear your reaction, because that's pretty much the reason I do this.
Well, awesome. I'm glad to get the opportunity to share it with you.
Yeah, it's actually kind of hard to want to explain the songs at a certain point, because I don't
Yeah.
really think that's what it's about,
Yeah.
I know I like reading it and hearing about it from people and stuff too, for sure. But what's this song about almost isn't really the point anymore, especially for someone who's listened to it and has formed their own thing around it.
Right.
It's for you, it's for anybody who wants to hear it. That's what the songs are for.
With one thing, and then kind of like on a different turn of this one thing with this record, and I think it goes from when we saw you guys live and playing with you guys and like really experiencing seeing you guys multiple times, but seeing or hearing on this set of tunes, like I found myself physically leaning in while listening to it, which I recall doing at the show. And you guys captured the dynamic of the live performance in a very honest way on the record, which is awesome, because a part of what I think makes MSSV is the dynamic of the performance. And a lot of times I feel like stuff gets compressed in a way where it's quiet but not as quiet, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we definitely play with a lot of dynamics, but the real kudos for what you're talking about goes to Chris Schlarb, who produced and engineered the album at his studio Big Ego down in Long Beach. Yeah, he's not heavy-handed with the compression, so which is great for our band. But he also listens to the music, and he's heard us and has known all of us for a long time, so he knows kind of what we're going for really well too. And he's been such a good friend of mine for a long time. I can tell him, I'm thinking about this for this music and this for this, and he'll hear it, and right away he'll know, oh yeah, absolutely. So this is and then he'll know how to capture it and present it in its best form. So speaking of trust again, I totally trust him with the sonics of this music, no question. I can just let him hear a little bit and then trust that he's going to know how to get it across really clearly.
Because I definitely think that was clear, because there's parts where it's you're wow! And then I found
the dynamics are intense, and Chris did a great job making sure that those stay intact, and that the drama of the songs really, really comes across in the listening.
Was it definitely? And I don't, because even at the performance, I was like, oh my god, it was cool to physically find myself doing that to a record. I don't think I've ever noticed that about myself listening to really anything. Is I'd never noticed a physical reaction in that sense. And I think it was paired with the in life, real life experience of it. But I thought that was a powerful choice, and that's cool that Chris, right?
Chris Schlarb.
Chris was able to bring that to life. And another thing I wanted to point out, what I thought was really cool with this record, and we've talked about it a little bit before, but I feel your vocal strength from just every record is it gets just tighter and tighter, because that first tune, I think that's the most rockin', when you get to the chorus of On and On, that I've heard you project and embrace yourself vocally. And I guess I wanted to ask if, aside from just support from the group and just kind of constant practice of it with them, did that solo tour kind of help vocally and stuff?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the biggest help is doing it live. I mean, the last tour was like 58 shows or something. So singing for 58 shows, that'll teach you something about your voice for sure. And Watt, particularly as a vocalist, he's had a lot of great advice for me about how to use different parts of my body to change different things in my voice, and how to make it stronger, or how to use dynamics in the band to sort of help the voice at different times. So I've learned a lot from him about the mechanics of using your voice. He's been really generous with that information. And then of course Hodges, he's played with some of the greatest vocalists of the 20th century, 21st century music. So I mean, having someone like that on the drums that really knows how to deal with vocals is also very amazing. So I've been in a good position to kind of start trying this out, and then doing that short solo trip that you saw me on when I came to Cleveland. That was also another side of it, because I was fully responsible for the dynamics in the music, and then also singing with my guitar playing and sound making and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of not really new, because when you're home and you're working on music by yourself, that's exactly what you're doing, right? But it was helpful to kind of bring it out of the house. It's something I'll probably end up doing more of down the line for sure.
Yeah, that was really cool. Like, I loved how you brought like I've seen some solo acts before, but I loved how you brought the dynamic of like kind of creating a tone, and with all the effects and stuff, built it into the solo act. Like, that was really rad.
Yeah, well, that's part of how I've always played music. So it makes sense I think what makes the most sense is to be the most honest you can about what you do musically. And so I'm not gonna not do something which is how I play. I mean, some of the answers sound really obvious when they come out of my mouth, but but I think it's important. Like, I'm gonna try to stay true to what it is about music that I enjoy and what it is that I've worked on. So yeah.
No, definitely. And like, okay, I've always been fascinated by Watt's voice. like, and like, I can't imagine to do as many shows as you guys do, and when Watt tours, like, there's gotta, like, to keep the voice functional every night and have intensity. What are some like kind of vocal techniques that Watt like shared with you, the physicality of to be able to execute it? Like,
yeah, well, it's not even that specific, and actually some of it is from watching him, because he sings in the band too sometimes, and so I get to watch him when he's doing it. And part of it is not, as far as I understand it, I preface this by saying I'm not actually like a singer. I don't really know how to properly use my voice, but I know it works for me. And one of the things is kind of using your face more than your throat. So kind of like the way you shape your mouth, or the way the sound comes kind of almost through your nose, like your nasal area, like your sinuses almost, I guess, kind of has more to do with singing than actually, like, if you were to just scream, you feel it in your throat, and I think you kind of don't want to feel that, especially when you have to sing every night for 2 months. You don't want to really feel it in your throat, I think. And to me, it's still this really bizarre, abstract idea, like, well, how do I get sound out of my mouth if it doesn't come through my throat? It's still hard for me to wrap my mind around that. But when I do it the way that I want to do it, I know what it feels like, I guess is what I mean.
No, definitely. Like if it's going through the throat, it's bad. That's tense. Like, and that's where you lose your voice. And like, I've experienced that. So like,
yeah, okay, great. So I'm on the right track.
Yeah, no, you're definitely on the right track, because you want the throat, I guess, you want it to just be like as relaxed. Like, shoulders should be relaxed. Like it, and like you, like the way I was describe it, it's like the soft palate, or the mouth is like kind of like the tone knob of your voice guitar. Like,
I like that.
So you can alter it with how you hold it. And like, Watt, for someone, I'd like, and he's got a specific like tone with when he says certain words, and like, you know, which makes it 100% Mike Watt. It's like, you know, it's Watt, and like, it sounds like it's like a, whew, like a big exhale in, or inhale, exhale out. Like, I don't know. I just wondered if Watt got that specific with like, but this is just kind of from observing him. And like, I guess, so did you notice like any like kind of like, oh, he does this and then it worked for you? Or this is more just self-reflective of when I hold my mouth like that, it doesn't hurt my throat.
He just gave me ideas of things to kind of check. He would tell me how he uses his voice and stuff. I mean, he's thought about it a lot. But obviously I'm not him, and so it's not going to be the same thing. But I can take those ideas, and you know, you have 2 months of shows. There's a lot of time to try stuff out every night. Like for instance, okay, here's the actual example. On Boat Song, on the chorus to Boat Song, there's a part where my voice goes really high. That song never had that in that at the beginning. I think it was sort of louder in the chorus, and it was just sort of my lower voice. And what happened was maybe like halfway through tour, there was one show where we were doing that song, and it was getting quieter and quieter every night, you know, the song, the dynamics, and I was really digging it. It was getting really creepy sounding, you know. And I think there was some spot where maybe there were some people talking out in the crowd, and the song was already really quiet. You could hear them talking and stuff. And so I was kind of thinking, like, how can I get the attention back to this song from these it's only like 2 or 3 people, you know, but they're in their own world. So what can I do? And I was just thinking, like, how can I do something really different here, you know? And for whatever reason in my head, I just heard these really high notes, and I wanted to sing it that way. So I was able to kind of use this falsetto voice, and it came through my nose a little bit more. And it was like so unexpected that it got them to pay attention and turn around and go, whoa, what is that? And that was just, and so it stayed in the song actually, because I liked it too. But it was just sort of a moment where I felt really natural thinking about how to use my voice in a musical way, which is not second nature for me to think that way about my voice. I can do that, you know, dozens of different ways with guitar playing, because I have such an intimate knowledge of the instrument after playing it for 30 years or whatever. But my voice is not the same way with that. So that was kind of a moment where I felt really at home as someone that uses their voice for music.
That's like, and that's cool that it's like gathered from natural experience in that sense. Like, how can I?
For me, that's the best way to learn things is from doing. You know, I can be told something, and I can be shown something, and I can basically understand it, but I know that I'm not really going to understand it until I do it for myself. And if I mess it up, even better, because then I'm going to learn really fast.
I totally agree with that. And like on the spot type of in the gig situation, like if I'm learning like concepts or whatever and just practice them every day, like they make sense, but until you apply it in a situation, until you go out or have an opportunity where you can experiment in a like a performance aspect, like that's really when those ideas or concepts are just like aha moments shine.
Yeah.
That's fun. Did you, cause like with that dynamic, right? Cause not too many bands use the kind of silence dynamic in the way that I've heard you guys do, or at least to my perspective. Like I'm sure there are, but I'll keep it to my ears. And playing all these shows, did you notice, like, was that more reoccurring that there was, like, when it broke down, that there was mumbles amongst the bar?
Not always. Not always. I mean,
okay.
Sometimes you get a crowd that's really there for checking out what's going to be different. And then there's people that kind of come just to be part of the scene, and which is totally cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't the bash. This is just I'm curious.
Yeah. Anybody who comes to a show is light years ahead of people who don't, in my book. But you just have people that are there for different reasons. I think that's all. I'm only there for one reason, which is to do my best for the music and for the people I'm playing with and the people I'm playing to. That's my job. You know, that's why I'm going to go to all these towns with these guys and play this music. Right. It's not there to look cool or be seen or whatever, you know. So people have different reasons they go to shows, but my goal is to play the music, and so I have to kind of think about what's best for that in the moment. And if there's a way that I can get more people to listen, I'm going to try to do that.
I think that's well said. Because like it's very like it's really interesting. Because I remember at the Cleveland show there was people talking, and like Watt was like, "Shut the fuck up," like, which was another way to get.
That's another way to do it. Yeah,
another way to get everyone's attention. But still, it did kind of. It was a dynamic, and everyone was bought back in at that point.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, that's really fascinating. I guess like so with like this kind of experience of going to all these different places for that motivation, like as far as like because I know like Watt like crashes in the van. What is your kind of like when you get to the venue aside from a sound check and like are you just there for that? Like are you also van crashing? Do you have a routine that you found yourself like doing to take in each spot you guys go?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't use the word crash when we're talking about a van.
Sorry. Napping.
So we use the word conk for sleeping.
Wait, what do you call it?
Conking.
Okay, conking.
Konk.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. It's different every day. I mean, I try to sleep at night. I try to get enough rest. I eat really healthy. I just try to stay consistent with like my sort of daily routine on the road. I feel like I'm actually better about daily routine on the road than I am at home, which kind of makes sense. I have a bunch of food allergies and stuff too, so I've got to be careful with that. But really, I just want to be able to play really well every night. And if I don't take care of myself in some way, I know it's going to affect my ability to do that. So for me, I just try to stay safe and stay healthy. I think pretty much, which is the same for everybody in the band too, is, it's not really like a party band at this point. We just want to make sure that we can get to do all the gigs because we want to be able to play all the music for everybody. Like we have to eat. If I haven't slept enough, I'll try to take a nap. If maybe there's a green room in the venue, or maybe there's a little corner I can roll myself up in where nobody will bother me after sound check for an hour or whatever, and finding something decent to eat that's like not fast food, that's not expensive. That's kind of another fun thing to figure out.
Sardines?
Yeah, so yeah, it's a great food.
Yeah, I'm not dogging you.
There's a lot of tacos eaten on the road because you can find like really good Mexican food almost everywhere in the country, right, in the States right now. So like if you just find a little Mexican market and you can get some tacos that have some vegetables and corn tortilla, I mean, like, it's great. It's great. So that's kind of a fun, that's sort of my little fun thing every day, trying to find the food. But yeah, there's not really much. I know people see the schedule and they go like, whoa, how do you do it? That's so crazy, all these gigs. But like, if you just deal with it one day at a time, it's not that bad. It's not bad at all, actually. It's not like I always use that analogy, but it's not like we're on the side of the road digging ditches in the sun for 10 hours. Like we get to play our music for everybody every night. And that's really like awesome. We all love doing that. So it's kind of a really cool gift to get to be able to do that. And all I have to do is stay healthy on the road to do it. That's pretty good.
Well, when you put it like that, definitely. And like, and that's kind of the dream, is just to hit the road and do, to put it out there and be, us against not us against, but us with everyone to do this and share this. And like,
total team effort. I mean, if there's no audience, there's no show. Just like if there's no band, there's no show. Well, there's the show. Just if a tree falls in the forest, is anyone there to hear it?
And that's why you gotta come to the show and hear it out, man. Mike, always inspiring. I love it. I'm so stoked you guys are still touring and still coming up with stuff. Is there tunes for this next tour to be the next record?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm putting the finishing touches on the new batch of music as we speak. Yeah.
Very cool. And like,
it's starting to become too predictable though now, isn't it?
No, but that's the on and on part. Like if you're not keeping going, there's something wrong. You know what I mean? Like I love it. Like, and like
Thanks, Dave.
Every album like grows and evolves in such a like unique and natural way that you can go back to the others and still bring like different inspiration from. So I just keep it going, man. I can't wait to be talking about the fourth one, you know?
Thanks, Dave.
And but yeah, so thank you so much for everything, man. I look forward to seeing you guys, and safe travels.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks so much for doing this, and I'll see you in Cleveland.
Yo, Spike Spiegel here. You just listened to Zig At The Gig podcast. Keep riding the bebop. See you, Space Cowboy. Bang.